We all are only 1 degree removed from knowing someone who is being impacted by workplace violence or some form of online exploitation. This issue filters into employee wellness, impacting engagement at work. Let's bridge this gap by bringing awareness and education to these pressing issues and shield the vulnerable. Welcome, everybody, to Shield the Vulnerable. Today, we're pivoting a little bit, but we're talking about something really cool that our guest, Mendee, is doing, working with her company. Mendee, welcome. You are a technology advisor at Katy Business Technologies. And you guys are doing some really, really cool things when it comes to response times for active shooters, active threats, and doing all this. So Mendee McKeehan, welcome, and thank you for being here with us today.
Good morning. Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate the honor and the opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. So your company's based out of Minnesota, right?
That is correct.
But
Minnesota.
You're hanging out in the mountains of Montana.
I am. So we're a national company. So we're kind of placed everywhere. But it really is a kind of a hands-on. We get to see different schools, different rural areas versus cities. So it gives us a broad. Now you see.
Yeah.
It gave me a broad scope of work of what people are experiencing and kind of where their situation is and where their life is like.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you and I first got to speak, so your company has a technology called Inform 911. We're going to dive into that. But when we first got to talk, it was right on the heels of an active shooter incident in Anaconda, Montana, that had happened. And it was a really good opener for, the reason why you and I got connected in the first place and to be able to talk.
It was really sad because there was, unfortunately, the suspect was a vet and had a history of mental illness, even prior to his service. And he had schizophrenia and he just lost it one day. And unfortunately for other people in a local bar lost their lives. And then he was on the run for almost 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you and I, we both know, and I know a lot of our listeners do, that active shooter incidents you almost can't go a day without seeing them in the news. And you and I both heavily agree that response methods need to change, that there's a lot more that we can be doing, from assisting civilians or those who work in workplaces or schools or healthcare, retail, wherever it may be, to helping them with response, but also helping frontline responders, right? The law enforcement, the first ones who are going there. And, for people listening that don't know, most active shooter incidents are over in less than 3 minutes. But a lot of lives can be lost in that first 3 minutes. And from the time, an incident begins to the time that somebody's able to call 911, that the 911 operator is able to get all of the information, dispatch police, in all of this chaos and trying to narrow down where somebody actually may be, there's a lot that can happen. And your company is doing something really cool to try to combat this and try to really decrease that time, that response time, and helping law enforcement get directly to the threat immediately.
Well, I'll go with that. I'll go in to explain kind of what we do. So we're patented, so there's nobody else out there that does what we do. And, we handle telecommunications. So there's, FCC regulations and state regulations that says, hey, when you pick up the phone and you call 911, the dispatch should know what room number you're in, what suite number you're in, the street address. Well, that's great. But how does the first responders actually know where that is?
Right.
You go onto a campus where there's 5 different buildings. Who knows where room 506 is? You would think it's on the 5th floor, but maybe they only have 4 floors. So that becomes a problem. So with what our software does is integrates with all the technology that the business or school districts have, cameras, access control, right, in between bell rings, they unlock doors so they can get to other buildings. And then when after the, passing period is over, they lock them back up. Well, every kid and every person usually has their cell phones with them. Well, if you call 911 from a cell phone, because maybe they're in between classes or they see something in the parking lot, the school district, the teachers, the administration, business owners, they don't know that 911 was called until 911 shows up, right? Well, we're able to geofence the entire property. So from the fields, the track fields, football fields, parking lots, everything, the perimeter of the building will be geofenced. And with our relationship with 911, what happens is if when 911 is called from a cell phone or a landline, it pin drops exactly where the 911 call was made, but the
Okay.
best part is that it sends a link to the first responders, EMTs, SWAT, any agency, gives them a link, no downloads. They touch the link and it gives them an actual live, active digital footprint of the entire property and building
Hmm.
with room numbers. And it
So,
also shows where their cameras are, where
yeah.
their doors are. And so what happens when 911 is called, they know exactly where to go, where it was done, and they don't have to wait for a janitor or somebody to open up a door to get to it. They can actually en route view cameras, lock doors, secure areas before they
Hmm.
even make it there. So I have a 60% decrease in response time.
Wow. Okay. When that 911 call comes in, I have a lot of questions about this.
Yes.
So first of all, with your technology, right? So the
Hmm.
school needs it, or the healthcare facility, or any type of facility, they need the technology.
Correct.
Does it tap in immediately to any 911, or does like each individual kind of district that has their own 911 call dispatch center, they also need the technology? How does that work? Like, how do the two connect together?
So the first responders, right? So be it fire, police, all first responders, they don't have to have it. It's not with them. It is actually with the school. They get it for free when the school
Got it.
district or hospitals or whatever. And because there's drills involved in this, because school
Hmm.
districts have to have a certain amount of drills every year, they have to a different type of drills at that. This integrates with their attendance software.
Hmm.
It integrates with their access control and it integrates with their cameras. So everything that is done is also reported and recorded. So when
Love it.
somebody, yeah, so when 911 is called, and once we have already implemented the software, we do drills with the city and with the first responders so they understand how it works as well.
Hmm.
So they get in, they see it, it's literally a push of a finger they're able to view and see. So there's absolutely nothing the city or the first responders have to have.
Okay. Once somebody calls 911, all right,
Hmm.
I'm in room 204, but I'm evacuating. I'm leaving that room. I'm going somewhere else, right? And now
Hmm.
I end up in room 212.
Hmm.
And you get a pin drop that initial call. Dave Miller's calling. He's in room 204. Boom, pin drop. If I stay on the phone with 911, does that pin move with me? Like, or do are dispatchers relying on me telling you that I'm moving? Like, how does that work?
So the teachers and staff also get the same exact, depending on what alerts we have set and what perimeters we have set, depending on what the emergency is,
Hmm.
right? So if it's like a heart attack, it's obviously the nurse is going to be one of the first ones to get notified. But
Right.
when it's in an active shooter situation where it's everybody that's important or everybody needs to be in the know, what happens is that the teachers actually have the same access. So they can
Okay.
show like, hey, I've moved to 201, or hey, Johnny wasn't with me in 204. He was helping at the lunchroom, and so all of that information, and it is on both sides of the link, shows
Hmm.
transcript. So detectives can be
Okay.
talking as the dispatching. So everybody's getting the exact same information, not just dispatch who has to relate it to what I should do next. Everyone is in the same know and have the same information that is given at the same time
Got you.
in live
I
time.
I love that this goes beyond just an active shooter or an active threat situation, right? It's helping people with medical emergencies. There's so many other uses for it and all sorts of medical emergencies. that response time counts.
It does. And for me, I have different views of it, right? So I'm a
Okay.
mom who have a
Yeah.
kids in school, but I also remember when I was in middle school, I had a friend, we were walking through the hallways during lunch, and I didn't know she was diabetic and she had a
Yeah.
seizure. Well, I'm 13, 12, 13. I have no idea what to do. I just know that she's banging her head up against the ground and she's
Hmm.
doing all this convulsions, and I've never seen it before. So even as a child, I don't know what to do. So I'm screaming. Hopefully
Hmm.
somebody, and teachers are, trying to come up, but some of the teachers are not even there. They're at lunch too, right? Or they're
Right.
doing whatever they're doing. So thank God I was actually, a teacher was grading papers who was next door and had me lay on her, and they were holding her head and popsicles. But that's what matters, is how fast somebody can get there. It's not that she was really too much in danger with the seizure, but it was the way that she was hitting her head up against the ground.
Yeah.
This is cement and tile. I don't know what to do. So seconds really matter, but I also want to make sure that kids feel safe and
Hmm.
they have a way of being able to get a hold of somebody for resources.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that. I mean, that's a great analogy. I'm a dad of a type 1 diabetic child. And I know how important that response time can be when and if needed. I mean, knock on wood, never been there in that situation. But I know how important that is. So the fact that it ties in beyond just active shooters and into medical and can help EMTs, and everybody is truly amazing. How, what prompted, so Katie's in like the telecommunications business.
Correct.
What
So
prompted this? Like, how did this come to be and set out and then to continue to build on this infrastructure?
well, we like to do a lot of stuff with nonprofits, and everyone thinks communications is just communications, right? We just talk,
Yep.
or you just pick up the phone. As long as you have a dial tone, you're good to go. But that's not really what communications is. If you don't have communications, you can't get anything. First
Hmm.
responders, help, information, business, right? If your phone isn't ringing, you're not making money as a business. So we came across 911 Inform, and it was so amazing. Nobody else had ever done something like this. And the way that technology is moving with cell phones, and, everything you own is on a cell phone. So how do we get communication from a cell phone to the internal admin when 911 is called? And there's been
Right.
so many incidents like Chattanooga, Tennessee, the state, was it Tennessee? This was yesterday. They had a lockdown from a active shooter,
Hmm.
right? And it's still, even though we're modernized, nobody has this kind of technology that really isn't that expensive that can save lives for everybody. So the point
Right.
is to give first responders situation awareness, protect and get them to the incident as fast as possible, and let admin know so they know what to do with their protocol.
Yeah.
And how do we combine all three?
And what you just touched on price there. And the number one thing, and I know this from providing training and education into organizations specific to active threat, active shooter response. Everybody's like, we have a budget still. But the way you guys are approaching this is you're helping organizations actually find grant money as well. So it's not coming out of their budget. And I honestly, I think the grants just need to explode for this, or the money, or the governments, or local, federal, whatever sides you're talking about here. Money needs to become available for this because every single day lives are being lost. And at no point in time should an organization ever feel as though they're being handcuffed by a budget and saying we can't implement training solution, technology solution, infrastructure, whatever it may be, to
Well,
prevent this or stop this from happening.
I think that the heartbreaking part for me, or the frustrating part, is we can do a levy and a bond locally, right? In the community, we ask, tax wise to do something, right? We want to do a bond, build a new building, a new
Mm-hmm.
stadium. Well, that's great, but the stadium is getting built and everyone approves it and it's beautiful and we can watch football and we can do all the things.
Yeah.
but they don't implement security with it. Oh, well, we have a camera or we have people on site. Well, let's think of a big venue, right? We're having a football game and God forbid, either a child or a parent is having a medical emergency.
Mm-hmm.
How would somebody know? Because they're going to call 911. How would somebody in that area, like the security guards or even right? Medical on staff,
Mm-hmm.
know that it's happening because it's now there's no phone in the stadium. Everyone has their cell phones. Nobody's going to try to look for a phone. They're going to
Right.
grab their cell phone and call 911. And then nobody knows until first responders show up where to go, who is it, what happened, what's going on outside
Yeah.
of dispatch. How many times have you said, well, where are you located? I don't know.
People don't know.
I don't even know what the north south side of the building is.
Right.
I'm in section B1. Well, how did the first responders even know that? So that's where
Yeah.
the decrease in response time comes. But it gives people who are on staff right there locally also the same benefit of there's an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that with the landline, but nobody's going to find the landline, right?
Right.
They're holding somebody in their hands or they're doing whatever they can, CPR. They can't go find a phone.
Yeah. And it is people. So people at the best of times, I don't want to sound the wrong way, don't know where they are, what direction, right? Like even if you come, you're driving down the highway and there's a car accident and you have to call in. It's like, well, where are you? I'm like, I have no idea what mile marker I just passed or what road I'm at. I don't know if I'm driving north, south, east, or west. But when you add in a total shit show of something now and there's chaos and there's stress involved, right? That physiological response is gone. People's ability to clearly think and then articulate it in a way to somebody who's going to need to collect help and get information from you, that's a difficult thing to do. And that's no fault of anybody's. So your technology can really remove that human error response and go, we know where you're at. They can ask clarifying questions. They can tap into the cameras. They can tap into the resources and start to get people there faster.
Well, I think that's where you kind of come into, Dave, is where there is a portion of us that react off of emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's people who freeze, there's people who react, there's people who fight.
Yeah.
And you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get for what kind of emergency at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's it's kind of scary, right? So let's try to avoid I can't determine how somebody's going to react. But
Right.
what I can do is give you the technology that it won't matter at that moment for first responders to get to you about location and what the
Yeah.
emergency is.
Yeah. Yeah. People need to. And like for anybody listening to this, whatever you may do, even if it's in your own personal life, implement mental role play and just do it for fun. Like it doesn't have to be hard. I do it like I'm walking my dog down the street and I see another person coming at me from 200 yards away. I'm like, if they did this, what would my response be? Or if I'm driving down the highway and I see a car a mile away coming towards me, I'm like, what would I ever do if they swerved into my lane? Like, and when you mentally play these things out in your head and you've seen them happening before, and you don't have to do this out of fear based, like seriously, like make a game out of it. Just prepare yourself because there may very likely come a time in your life where you have to react or respond to something. And if you've
Correct.
mentally been there before, you're going to increase your response time.
Well, exactly. And so for me, just a little example is, when I was 19, I got hit on the 405 freeway in California. I'm 19. I'd never been in even a fender bender.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the guy hit me. I watched my car from going north to facing south onto oncoming traffic, right? And then my car went east and rolled like 5 times. And I was awake the whole time. That fear,
Wild.
I could not get into a car for almost 6 months later because of the adrenaline and scared and a phobia of
Mm-hmm.
having someone come at me. So if you can take that emotion, now I'm the best, one of the best defense, even 27 years later.
Yeah.
I can literally watch what people do because I'm scared of what could happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where people don't know until they know.
100%. 100%. That's a good analogy. Well, you and I, we talked about it, right? When you're hiking, right? You're hiking the area there. You got bears, like all those things, like you're
My,
prepared,
my spidey sense.
right? But you've seen it, like you've mentally put yourself there. And if I ever encounter this, this is how I'm going to react to it. And that's such an important element for safety is seeing it, being there, preparing for it, because that freeze response at times like that in a time of crisis is not the time to freeze. You
Correct.
cannot, and you can override your body's system no matter how bad it's going to want to stay stuck. You have the ability to override it when you are prepared.
Well, I think that's where, safety comes in at, right? There's three different angles I look at with safety.
Okay.
How do I get the first responders to have situation awareness for their safety? Do
Mm-hmm.
you know how many, not just on the physical side, but the mental side? Yes, first responders are trained for chaos, hectic, emergency life or death situations, but they don't know what it is until they actually physically get there on site, know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if I can better prepare first responders to know exactly where to go and to see what's going on during their route to, that protects them as well mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And the reaction is going to be faster because now they're not having to process what it is and how am I going to react. They, even though it's already mentally done, they already have that. So
Yeah.
there's that aspect. Then how do I notify and let people know in on the property that something is happening so they can go and respond correctly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Students, teachers, kids, owners, staff. And then how do I get the technology to notify everybody all at once? But then you have to have your part, right? What is the 60 seconds or the 2 minutes of response time that they're not there yet, but they're en route? How do we
Mm-hmm.
protect the people that are there that the event is happening? Because like you said, within 3 to 5 minutes, it's over. So
Right.
how do we prepare these young children who don't even look when they cross the street half the time, right? They just,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I'm unstoppable. How do we prepare them to secure themselves until help gets there?
Right.
That's where you come in. What are the drills? What are the mental gymnastics we have to do to prepare ourselves like we train our first responders?
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone should have that training. Everyone should have the notification. So coming together in this, unity of saving lives all the way around, it takes several different angles to
Yeah.
protect, 100% protect, or do our best to
Fully.
protect.
Yeah, it is. And responses for emergencies, right? They're not linear. It's not like, well, when this happens, then this happens, and this happens. And that's what we're looking at doing is really kind of really re-breaking it. I don't want to, you know, hammer down on that run, hide, fight model. But it is kind of linear. I understand the need for it. It's simple. It's easy. I run, I hide, I fight. But what's really missing there for people when they just go, I'm going to implement run, hide, fight. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Well, where am I running towards? Am I running towards a threat or am I running away from a threat? What if there's multiple threats? I look at things like Virginia Tech, where the shooter had actually barricaded doors and attached explosives to doors. Well, if I go run through a door and there's an explosive on it, right? So you have to have a proper assessment of what it is that's even happening first and foremost. And then you tell people to hide. Well, if you're in an office setting or in a school setting, people are like, well, I'm going to hide under the desk or I'm going to hide in this closet. As soon as you hide in one of those spots, you're a sitting duck. You cannot go anywhere. You are cooked. If the active shooter or threat comes to you, you're done because you can't go anywhere. And then when it comes to the fight, we've talked to a lot of people and interviewed a lot of people and talked to them. It's like, are you a fighter? Well, I'm not a fighter. Well, could you fight then if you had to? Well, I don't know how to fight. Okay, let's flip it. Could you defend yourself? I could defend myself. If I gave you the tools and taught you how to use them, could you do that? And they can. But now the response becomes more cyclical, and that's what our model focuses on because it's always evolving. A threat's always evolving. If I commit to hiding at first in a safe space, but I see now as the situation unfolds that I have a chance to evacuate, I'm going to evacuate. I'm going to get out of there. If I start evacuating and go, oh, the threat's actually not where I thought it was, or it's now directly in front of me, I need to now hide, right? And people need to know that response is always evolving. And there's no one perfect way to do it. It's based on what your perception is of the active incident that's happening before you.
Well, I think that's also where 911 comes in from, right? Depending what if it is an active shooter with a bomb, right? Maybe it's
Yeah.
both. They're able to secure from route in the first responders and whatever agency is needed. They can
Hmm.
see, they know where the bomb is. They know where 911's called because they're getting information, right? Flooded with 911 calls, everyone's saying, freaking out, scared. But they actually say, okay, the guy is in room 405 or he's in the hallway B, and they can see where hallway B is. They can
Hmm.
actually start locking doors and locking people inside or unlocking and tell them run. So that's direct communication during the event from first responders, bomb squad, SWAT, whoever it is, to be able to help facilitate that reaction or where
I
the
love it.
situation is. And that, right? Because if I know, I don't know that there's a bomb, but I'm maybe in a different building. Well,
Hmm.
that's okay. The bomb is not with you, but we have a bomb threat. You get to move, run,
Hmm.
go meet in the gym and we'll secure it. So they're also able to secure or safeguard a what do they call isolating a situation, right?
Yep.
Before they even
Yep.
get there.
Yep.
So again, with the right reaction and the right information, we could save lives together.
100%. I love it. What's your role as technology advisor? What do you like? What is your day to day there, and how do you help organizations with this?
Well, most times, like with schools, I'm working with a few schools now, is kind of going in because we talk about money, is
Hmm.
auditing what they have. There's a lot of turnover between principals, superintendents after a couple of years, and a lot of phone systems are really out of date.
Okay.
They're not up to compliance with E911. They're not up with Carrie's Law or the Ray Barnes Act, which
Hmm.
says I need to know what suite number or room number you're in, as well as the exact address. Well, as of July 1st, Georgia, as a state compliance, is a state law now, that they have to have a digital mapping of the building.
I love it.
Every school has to have it. There was a shooting in last September in Georgia, and unfortunately, Coach Ricky passed away and Alyssa.
Yeah.
So
I have
that's
Ricky and
they,
Alyssa's law.
yep. And so they created a law that says, hey, we need to find out where you are. I mean, it's great that you tell me that you're in room 501, but I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
And because of the tragedy, again, that's where 911 comes in. We do the mapping for you along with the communications part. So now you're up to compliance in law, but now we give situation awareness and activity to be able to lock, unlock, and know exactly where the 911 call came from. And
Yeah.
so the law is great, but now how do we make all the technologies that we already have work together?
Yeah.
And I don't need you to buy new cameras. I don't need you to buy new access control. I can integrate with what you have.
I love
So
that. That just
that's where
removes
the
a
money's
bottleneck from
sitting.
places people going like, well, I can't do this because as soon as I buy yours, I got to do this and I got to do that and all these things. No, you don't.
Correct. And we
That's
have,
awesome.
facial recognition. So let's go a little step further. If you have a slew of sex offenders
Hmm.
in the area, not allowed to be around kids. I'm at a football game on a Saturday. I don't know who's a sex offender or who's not, right?
Yeah.
If anyone ever comes, I can upload any of their profiles, right?
Yeah.
They're sex offenders. I can notify staff across the board if there is a sex offender on site.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second because this is going to open up a can of worms. I want to answer
I
this
get
because
excited.
I know what people are going to ask. Where's
Hmm.
my privacy in that? Right? And I'm all with you on this. I just want to address that question because I know somebody listening is going to go, "Ooh, privacy, you're infringing on somebody's rights there."
Am I though? Because you're a
I
registered sex offender.
100% I agree.
There is
Right?
no privacy with that.
So
If you're registered.
what about everybody else there though going is what so there people are going to wonder there's facial recognition obviously this is capturing everybody else's faces.
No. So
No.
what it does is that the picture that I uploaded, the profile that I've uploaded that is a registered sex offender,
Yeah.
that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the ones that are
Oh, got it.
not, yeah. I don't
Amazing.
care if you're not a sex offender. I'm not, I,
Not interested in you.
scanned you, boom, gone.
Yeah.
There's no alert there. There's no recording there.
Got
But
it.
if you are a sex offender and you are supposed to be registered and you
Mm-hmm.
are there and you're not in a place you're not supposed to be,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, they have facial recognition for Walmart across the United States.
Yeah.
That's not a violation of
It's
privacy.
true.
That's saying, hey, you rob me all the time. You're not allowed to be on my property.
Now,
Well,
is
you're a
that
sex offender. You're not supposed to be around children.
that's right. You can't be here. Is that technology that Katy has developed, or are you tapping into somebody else for that? Like, how is that working for you guys, or how is it coming together?
So the cameras do it, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a new camera system, it's almost like bring your own camera, if you will. So
Okay.
if you have a camera system that may have facial recognition or doesn't, we can just add a camera to that does that, or add the software to your camera that will provide that.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Okay, Mendee, you guys are doing so many amazing things. And I hope for anybody who ends up listening, whether you're SRO, superintendents, healthcare, HR, C suite, doesn't matter. I believe every organization needs to up their game, up their technology, up their response methods or education to help prevent, save lives. And I truly believe that when an organization does this, you're showing your people that their safety matters. And I truly believe that that just drives up employee engagement, employee wellness. We're going beyond compliance, check a box, regulatory stuff that says you have to. So for
Well,
people, go ahead.
I'm sorry for the financial side. When you ask me
Yeah.
kind of like what my day is and day out, when
Yeah.
I do an audit of a school or a business, most times I find money.
That's
And
amazing.
And because, like I said, they have so many vendors, they have so many old technologies that they are paying for, they don't even use or don't even know what they have.
Yeah.
Their education, right? They're educators. That's what their job is. Their job isn't to play tech and to find out what
For sure.
finances are going where and what's working, what's not. That's my job. Let me take that off of your hands.
Hmm.
And most times what they're paying for is so legacy and it's so expensive, PRIs, so forth, that I actually wind up saving them money and upping their technology.
I love it. That's amazing.
It's got to
That's
open the
amazing.
door.
Right. You're saving them money. That's great. Okay.
Most times that is really what it comes down to.
If people want to save money and find more money that they knew that they never had, where can they find you? Where can people connect with you at?
So you can find my name. It's called Kite, which is a web RTC. So if you go to Katy BT, that's CADY, B like in business, T like in technology.com. You can see my name. You can see if I'm available, not available. You can live chat me, set up an appointment, set a schedule. I'd be happy to do a free audit for you.
Awesome. And for anybody, if you're not watching this, like if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever it may be, Mendee is Mendee, McKeehan, McKeehan. And that's at katybt.com.
Right. So
Awesome.
Mendee.McKeehan at katybt.com.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in this space, that Katy Business Technologies is doing in this space. I know you guys are just getting started, not just getting started, but there's so much work to be done ahead. And you're truly being ambassadors in this world of safety. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. You know, for if it's not people like me and you that can't unite, we're going to miss something. And so
Yeah.
it takes everybody to make people safe in all different angles.
Yeah. Yeah. For anybody listening, as I just said a few minutes ago, whether you're in healthcare, education, retail, no matter what your role is, we are faced with the unfortunate reality today that threats exist in all forms, from active shooters to knife attacks to, we teach people on threats, even when it comes to intimate partner violence and other aspects, and helping really support people and put in preventative measures to help people respond. And I truly believe that when organizations do this outside of regulatory, outside of compliance, and they do it because they know what's the right thing to do, that you're truly advancing your business. You're showing your people that you care. You're showing your customers that you care, your students, your staff. And there's such intrinsic value in that. I know people ask like, well, what's the ROI? What's the ROI? I'm like, it's really hard to put an ROI on life saved. It really is.
It's priceless.
It is. It is.
You can't
So
replace it.
100%. So if you work in those roles, I challenge you to explore what your options are, look at what you can do to just safeguard your business, your people, because they truly matter.
I
Mendee,
have one more. Oh, I have one more
absolutely.
question for you.
Go
So
ahead.
I also work with a nonprofit organization called NAMI, and NAMI is for people who have paranoia, schizophrenia, or any kind of mental health issues.
Hmm.
It brings the families together, how they react, what they can do to make them better. And honestly, every threat, every incident that is violent or dangerous usually comes from an emotional response or a
Yep.
lack thereof. And so, if there's any way we can also try to help the mental to prevent this too, right? I said there's different angles. So mental health is super important.
Big time.
Technology is super important. Defense is super important. Reaction is super important. So
Yeah.
again, all three of us together, we can change the world.
100%. And especially with that, with people who are in a state of emotional distress, mental distress, which obviously, a lot of these incidents stem from that, that if we can, a big part, and we focus on this in our education, is identifying precursors, behavioral cues, and things like that. There's somebody who may be going down this route, and a lot of people just go, well, it's just Dave today, it's just who he is. And it's like, well, if we can start to prevent and help and support people, there's so much that can be done, and so much tragedy can be prevented. Those who are involved in active shooter incidents, I mean, a lot of them they don't walk out of this alive. They either take their own life or they wait for somebody to stop the threat, which ends their life right there. And it's another senseless life lost, where somebody could, if we identify it and we can put the supports in place, we can stop it from ever happening to begin with. So let's chat more about that.
Absolutely. Well, people think it's the boogeyman, right?
Yeah,
All the
it's
bad
not.
guys. It's not. It's your peer. It's the kid next door. It's the kid that's parents are going through divorce and he doesn't know what coping mechanisms are.
That's right.
We don't do enough to give our children even the right coping skills to
Yeah.
handle what's going on. And in these days and age, because of technology, when we were kids and getting bullied, we got to leave it at school when we left, right?
Yeah. It takes them,
There
it
is
follows them everywhere.
there is zero relief from what they're going through. And kids are mean
Yeah.
and people just snap. Spouses, cheating, emotional distress. It's temporary insanity, but it happens.
Yeah.
And emotions are so real. There's 800 words for emotions. How many do you know? And if you can't
Not
do it,
800. Yeah.
how are you going to teach your kids how to respond to an emotion you don't even have a word to?
Well, that's thought provoking, right? That is. It's so true.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Mendee, thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much for being here and sharing such valuable information and talking about what you guys are doing. We appreciate it.
Well, we got to get the schools on board. We should really try to start making this a mandatory, not grant rate, not
Yeah.
just by funds of grants, because they're really hard to get, but they
Yeah.
should be mandatory across the board. We
State
can
funded,
save lives. We can.
100%.
And we have the technology to do it. We just got to get more people to rally.
That's right. We'll do it together. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for being here, everybody. This was another episode of Shield the Vulnerable, a good one at that. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.